We have another very special book tonight. It's by Julie Andrews and her daughter, Emma Walton Hamilton. And it's called The First Notes, The Story of Do Re Mi. So let's see what this is all about. A 1,000 years ago, in the small community of Pomposa, Italy, a boy named Guido was sent to a monastery to begin his schooling. In those days, a monastery was considered the best place to receive an education. The monks who lived and taught there were studious and wise. That's a monastery. Young Guido spent his days learning Latin, math, astronomy, and his favorite subject, music. He heard music everywhere, in the warm voices of the monks chanting their prayers, and in the chiming of the bells that summoned them to chapel several times a day. He heard it in the sounds of nature, in the splashing of the stream where he fished with his friend, Brother Michael, in the buzz and hum of bees and crickets in the monastery garden, and in the lilting song of the nightingale that lulled him to sleep at night. Wow. Guido yearned to know everything about music and dreamed of one day teaching it to others, but learning music was hard. Day after day, week after week, Guido listened, memorized, and practiced, knowing it would take 10 years to master the complicated hymns and harmonies he loved so much. When he wasn't studying, Guido worked in the monastery's great library. He often wondered why music couldn't be written down and read like words in books. I think he's pretty smart. Guido thought about this a lot. One day, while practicing his hymns, he made a discovery. He was only singing 6 basic notes. No matter how high or low he sang, no matter what melody, the same tones repeated themselves. He found a piece of parchment and made a small mark on it to represent the lowest tone. Then he drew another and another, stacking each mark higher than the next, just as he had been singing them. His heart beat faster as he drew lines between and through the marks, as if they were climbing a ladder. I think he's writing music. Could this be a way to write music? If so, then each of the 6 marks would need a name. Humming his favorite hymn, he noticed that it too had 6 parts. He took the first syllable from each line of his hymn and noted it next to one of the marks he had made on the parchment, going from the bottom to the top. He sang each syllable aloud, raising his voice step by step to match the way the notes marched up the lines. Guido thought he might burst with excitement. If all the chants, all the hymns, all the harmonies could be written down in this way, maybe people could learn to read music. Then they would always know the correct melody to sing, even if they had never heard it before. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la. Ti, do. Clutching his parchment to his chest, he raced across the courtyard to share his discovery with his teachers. But the monks simply shrugged and turned back to their work. They had no interest in trying something new. One even suggested that Guido should spend less time thinking up foolish ideas and more time praying. Heavy-hearted, Guido trudged back to his chamber. In the days that followed, Guido grew despondent. Instead of fishing and gardening, instead of singing and enjoying all the sounds of music around him, he kept to himself, and his world became quiet. That's not good. Nope. One day, a visitor arrived at the monastery, Bishop Theobald of Arezzo, was searching for a teacher to train the choir singers at his great cathedral. The bishop had heard of Guido's passion for music and invited him to take the position. Guido quickly accepted. Oh, this could be exciting now, don't you think? Guido left Pomposa and began the journey to his new home. The sun warmed his back, songbirds twittered, and the clip-clopping of his donkey's hoofs made a happy rhythm as he jogged along. A breeze whispered through the olive trees, and the tall cypresses stood to attention. Guido began to hum, and then to sing. Guido's singing again. Yay! Bishop Theobald welcomed Guido, and when the young monk shared his musical ideas, the bishop did not shrug or turn away. He clapped his hands in delight and encouraged Guido to teach this new method to his cathedral singers. As Guido worked with his pupils, he sometimes pointed to his hand where he had written the musical notes. Within days, the choir had mastered hymns they had never heard before. Amazed, the bishop urged Guido to write a book about his revolutionary ideas. Guido dedicated his book to the kindly bishop. Look, they were all singing. That's pretty cool. Word of Guido's innovative approach to teaching music began to spread far and wide. Early one morning, the clatter of hoofs and a fanfare of trumpets resounded through the grand piazza of Arezzo. Sleepy villagers tumbled out of their homes to see what the commotion was about. 3 magnificently robed cardinals carried a message from Pope John, the most important leader in the land. The Pope had heard of Guido's musical theories, and he was summoning the young monk to Rome so he could see them for himself. Oh my goodness. The Pope immersed himself in Guido's ideas and was so impressed by the ease with which he was able to learn new melodies that he suggested Guido stay in Rome permanently to teach the Roman clergy. But Guido politely declined the Pope's offer. Though honored by the invitation, he preferred to return to his simple, pastoral life in Arezzo. It is said that on his way home, Guido stopped at the monastery in Pomposa, where the monks had been so disagreeable, now welcomed him and apologized sincerely for their lack of faith in him. Guido surely would have forgiven them, grateful to have realized his dream of teaching music and to have made its joys easier for people to learn. Here he is with his old friends. Yeah. Guido's system of musical notation, now called solfège, eventually spread throughout Europe and across the world. Many years later, Guido's square notes became oval shapes. The first note, ut, was changed to do, and a 7th note, T, was added to become the musical scale we know and use today, and the basis for the song Do Re Mi. You ever heard that song? I'm sure you have. Imagine if Guido could have heard that famous song. What fun he might have had singing it with his students. He sure would have had fun singing that with his students, huh? Do, a deer, a female deer. Re, a drop of golden sun. What's the next one? You're right. Me, a name I call myself. Far, a long, long way to run. So, a needle pulling thread. La, a note to follow, so. What's next? Tea, a drink with jam and bread. That will bring us back to do. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. That was fun. Wasn't that great? I loved that book. And I hope you didn't mind my singing too much.